Today we're going to be chatting about technology integration and why it's no longer enough. How many of you have a technology integration specialist or use the phrase technology integration ever? We want to really think about why we say the word technology integrate and why that might not be enough anymore. So I always start all of my conversations with the story of the three little pigs. So raise your hands again because you've all heard of that. Yes? Yeah? Uh-huh. Okay, good. And what we forget to tell with that story is that third little piggy was actually an early innovator. And the reason that third little piggy was an early innovator is because he didn't die at the end of the story. He didn't get eaten, right? He built his house out of bricks instead of straw. So third piggy, smart guy, said, oh, I've got this innovative new device. It's called a brick. You guys, it'll blow your mind for real. And first little piggy, let's rewrite the story, is like, oh, okay, well, I've got this straw house and these new bricks. Apparently they're the thing to do because everyone's doing it. So I'm going to get on the brick bandwagon. And he gets a wheelbarrow full of bricks. And he's like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put some bricks with my house. But then he looks at his house and he's like, oh, I really like the structure of my house. It's super comfortable to me. It's the way that I've always lived. But I also want to use these innovative devices because that's what everyone says to do. So I'm going to take these bricks and I'm going to duct tape them to my house. And then that'll be using the bricks. And so why do I tell this fractured fairy tale? It's because that's what's happening, unfortunately, in a lot of our classrooms. We say, oh yeah, I've got my literacy block. I've been teaching literature circles forever. I feel like I'm a rock star literacy teacher. And then you get some iPads or some MacBooks or some Chromebooks or whatever, what might have you. And you're like, all right, well, I've always taught literacy this way, but now I've got some technology. So I'm just going to go ahead and duct tape this technology into what I'm doing. Done! Technology integration. Bam! And that doesn't work. So we have to be really brave and really thoughtful and take the proverbial sledgehammer to the structure of our classrooms and be willing to break down or do some demolition of our straw houses, if you will. Because then you're able to rebuild from the ground up using effectively the technology and the devices that you have at hand. Don't substitute what you're doing with technology devices. If you can do it with paper and pencil just as well, it's not worth it. Because an iPad cart costs about $20,000 all in for a classroom, for one-to-one. And that's a fabulous investment if used well. But if all they're doing are flashcards on a shiny screen, you could have gotten that for 99 cents from Dwayne Reed, my friend. So we really have to think about why are we using it? And that we're using it not just for technology's sake because it's cool or sexy, but because it's actually changing the game for our students and redefining it. We have to think, how are we using that tool and is it worth it? How many of you have heard of Chubby Bunny? I put a marshmallow in my mouth and I try and say Chubby Bunny. And then if my friends are all like, yeah, you totally said Chubby Bunny, then I get a point. And then you put a marshmallow in your mouth, and it goes on until I have like 14 marshmallows in my mouth, and then it keeps going until someone's like, nope, can't understand what you're saying anymore. But that's a little bit, you know, maybe it's subjective, so these kids found another solution.
All right, let's start off with two. Chubby Bunny.
Okay, it's working, it's working.
Yeah, that's great.
That sounded good.
Okay. 4. All right. Chubby Bunny.
It's working.
You think he's gonna get that? I don't think he's gonna get that.
Working.
Let's think about that for a second, right? You're a kid, you're playing Chubby Bunny, you've got a whole lot of marshmallows, and you're trying to put it into your mouth, and you're like, oh, this is really hard. Every time I'm doing it, like he's always saying I'm losing because he wants to win. It's too much subjectivity. So then you're looking around and you're like, oh, I got one of these, or you know, maybe I've got one of these. And then you're like, light bulb, speech recognition. That's kind of individualized innovation, right? That kid problem solved. They said, here's my problem. This is too subjective. How can I use technology to solve it? That's not subjective. Siri, Google Now. And so basically what they were doing was redefining the way they were going about that game. And so we're going to think about that redefinition and how kids can drive redefining your learning, your collaboration, assessment, and your differentiation.